Russia's most trusted ally just switched sides, and it's destroying Putin's war machine from the inside. General Winter, the legendary force that defeated Napoleon and Hitler, is now turning its barrel toward the Kremlin. Over 10,000 vehicles are trapped in a 100-kilometer death queue near Lake Baikal, engines frozen. At minus 40 degrees Celsius, fuel gelled into useless sludge, and Chinese-made parts shattering like glass in the cold. But this isn't just a weather crisis. This is the moment Russia's logistical backbone snapped in half. This is Strategic Signal Report. I'm Sarah Mitchell. And tonight we are analyzing Russia's catastrophic infrastructure collapse and why Putin's war economy is now trapped inside an icy coffin. What caused this logistical apocalypse? Why are Russian cities freezing while Putin spends billions on weapons? And how is this winter crisis starving the front lines in Ukraine? Let's break down Russia's frozen nightmare. Let me show you what total logistical collapse looks like in real time. A 100-kilometer traffic jam stretching across Siberian highways near Lake Baikal. Over 10,000 vehicles, trucks, cars, buses transformed into metal coffins by temperatures hitting minus 40 degrees Celsius. This isn't just bad weather. This is infrastructure failure on a scale that would be unthinkable in a functioning modern state. Satellite data confirms what drivers on the ground are experiencing. Russia's trade routes from Moscow to Vladivostok, from Crimea to St. Petersburg, are no longer functioning logistics arteries. They're metal graveyards. Listen to this account from a female driver stranded on the Moscow-Kazan highway. There are no toilets on the highway, no cafes. Nowhere to buy anything to drink or eat. I counted 130 cars in front of us, 130 cars, and that's just what she could see from her position in the queue. These 10,000 trucks aren't just carrying cargo. They're carrying Moscow's bread, St. Petersburg's medicine, hospital serum, baby formula. Right now, all of it is trapped under ice. But the crisis goes far deeper than traffic jams. In occupied Crimea, the jewel in Putin's imperial crown infrastructure has completely collapsed. In Yalta, city transportation has stopped. Public transport has been canceled. A month's worth of rain fell in 1 hour, and the peninsula's road network couldn't handle it. The most critical logistics artery in Crimea, the Simferopol-Bakhchisari-Sevastopol highway that supplies Russia's naval base, has been closed. Thousands of vehicles flooded the roads on summer tires because sanctions and economic collapse have made winter tires unavailable or unaffordable. This is not a natural disaster. This is systematic neglect meeting harsh reality. Russia's railways, the lifeline that holds this vast country together, are experiencing total collapse. On the Moscow-Vladikavkaz train, hundreds of passengers were trapped for 13 hours in pitch darkness. No heating, no water, toilets locked. On another train, Novorossiysk to Vladikavkaz, passengers were left without electricity or mobile signal for over 10 hours near Kropotkin. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, fear and silence. But what truly destroyed public trust in the regime were the deaths inside people's homes. 43,000 people left without electricity due to snowfall and power line breaks in Krasnodar Krai. While Putin wants to plunge Ukraine into darkness, his own empire is buried in icy silence. In the city of Sarov in the Sverdlovsk region, the main boiler room exploded at minus 40 degrees. 17,000 people left defenseless in an instant. In Angarsk, 67,000 people without heat. In Saratov, 85,000. People freezing. These aren't just statistics. These are victims of infrastructure that Putin neglected, failed to allocate budget for, and left to decay for the sake of his war economy. Let me show you how deep this rot goes. The power plant in Angarsk was built 30 years before the collapse of the Soviet Union. The heating pipes in Sarov were laid while Leonid Brezhnev was speaking on television. In Crimea, electrical networks collapsed in 3 regions due to snowfall. 17,000 people left without electricity in freezing temperatures. While the war budget breaks records every day, local authorities couldn't even start the heating season on time due to budget deficits. In the Sakha Republic, Deputy Viktor Fedorov stated, "We need 63 billion rubles to get the energy system running. Moscow only gave 34 billion. In a region without natural gas where only coal is used for heating, 34 billion is insufficient. The town of Tixi is now a frozen ghost village. Water pipes are cracked. The sewage system is inoperable. Schools in Verkhnikolimsky have suspended classes because heating cannot be provided. In Kebiasky, boiler rooms have been shut down because fuel debts cannot be paid. Homes are not being heated, and what is the local administrator's solution? Rustam Alinorov suggests, let's not heat the cultural centers and sports halls. Let's save money. This is Russia in 2025, a nuclear superpower that cannot heat community centers. The public's reaction is a mixture of helplessness and anger. People say we sleep under 3 or 4 blankets. The Russian people are patient, but patience is trembling because this isn't the first time. Last year there was an accident like this, the year before another one. And now again, the Kremlin's statements that the situation is under control are a bitter joke for the freezing population, because the shock waves created by this freeze in logistics chains are overturning every layer of Russian society. When a truck engine stops in Siberia, the effect is felt on a market shelf in Moscow, in a pharmacy in Yekaterinburg, in a kitchen in Novosibirsk. Logistics isn't just about delays. Logistics is the thin red line between life and death in a crisis, and right now that line has been severed in Russia. Market shelves in provincial cities are already sounding the alarm. Egg, chicken, and fresh vegetable prices have skyrocketed overnight due to supply shortages. While official inflation hovers around 10%, the food inflation felt by ordinary people is many times higher. Even if you have money, you can't find anything to buy because there are no physical products. This triggers the trauma of the 1990s, the Russian people's greatest fear: the deprivation, the shortages, the collapse of daily life. Even worse is the healthcare system collapse: insulin for diabetics, antibiotics for operating rooms, vital medications for heart patients, all freezing or spoiling in trucks buried under snowdrifts. But what truly frightens the Kremlin about this ice disaster isn't the hardships faced by civilians. The real nightmare is unfolding in the trenches on the Ukrainian front. Because logistics are unforgiving, military supply trains cannot move forward on tracks where civilian trains are frozen. The Krasnodar region is the main artery supplying the Russian army's southern front, and right now that artery is blocked due to snowstorm and infrastructure collapse. Trains in Krasnodar have been stuck for hours. What does this mean? Artillery shells destined for the front, fuel tankers for tanks, troop transports all trapped in that white hell. Remember those civilian trucks frozen on Siberian highways? Their military counterparts, KAMAZ and Ural trucks, share the same fate. Why? Because they all use the same low-quality Chinese parts, the same freezing fuel, the same poorly maintained engines. Russian soldiers at the front aren't just hiding from Ukrainian drones right now. They are trying not to freeze inside their tanks while waiting for fuel tankers that should have arrived but haven't. The traffic paralysis on the Moscow-Kazan route translates into the silence of artillery batteries in Donbass. This is logistical strangulation in real time. So why is this collapse happening now? And why is it so severe? The answer lies in Russia's technological dependency and its failed pivot to China. Western sanctions have completely cut off European-made heavy-duty trucks Volvo, Scania, MAN from entering the Russian market. Spare parts also gone. The Russian truck fleet has rapidly aged. The average age is now 23 years. Critical parts have fallen into the black market. Putin's solution was to turn east, to China. But this strategic shift failed the moment it encountered the harsh reality of Siberia general winter. Chinese-made trucks and spare parts lack the engineering infrastructure to withstand -40°C. According to technicians in the field, the pneumatic systems of Chinese vehicles freeze. Their electronic systems malfunction in the cold, low-quality plastic components shatter like glass. This isn't a natural disaster. This is the physical collapse of a logistics system weakened by sanctions, condemned to substandard technology, and hastily patched together. Russia needed Western technology to equip its army. Now it is learning the hard way that it lacks sufficient technological resilience even to feed its own people. The logistical paralysis is creating a choke point not only internally, but also at border crossings. The 5000 truck queue at the Kazakhstan border isn't just traffic, it's Russia's last remaining lifeline to the outside world, choked by increased inspections, customs delays, and fears of secondary sanctions. These trucks were carrying everything from microchips needed by Russian industry to winter boots for ordinary citizens. Now they're all waiting at the border, rotting under bureaucracy and snow. Looking at the bigger picture, these frozen trucks and bursting pipes are merely symptoms of Russia's geopolitical suicide. The real disease is the silent but deadly collapse of Russian railways, the backbone of the Russian state. Russian railways is the only tool that enables Russia to manage its geographical vastness. But the data doesn't lie. Ost is experiencing its worst period in 15 years. Freight volume down 7%. Why? No locomotives, worn-out bearings on wagons, and most critically, no personnel. 700,000 railway workers have either been sent to the front or transferred to the defense industry. This is also wiping out Putin's greatest strategic vision, the pivot to Asia doctrine. Having lost the European market, the Kremlin turned to China and India. But this winter revealed that Russia's eastern logistics routes cannot handle this load. The Trans-Siberian Railway is at full capacity. Alternative roads are frozen. You want to sell gas and oil to China? But your trucks, which carry trade outside pipelines, don't work in Siberian cold. The pivot to Asia looks perfect on paper. In the field, it's like a frozen engine block, and here's the bitter truth. China is not sending quality technology to rescue Russia. Instead, it's providing good enough but never perfect technology to keep Russia dependent, weak, and serving as a raw material depot. Russia's logistical independence is gone. This strategic blindness brings military consequences. When logistical lines behind the front freeze, the ammunition, food, and fuel of soldiers at the front are at risk. Without Ukraine firing a single missile, Russia is strangling its own logistics with incompetence and negligence. Trains to the front slowing down, tanks waiting for parts, fuel tankers stuck in snow. All of this creates a major internal weakness that the Ukrainian general staff cannot even mark on maps. This winter isn't testing the limits of Russia's long war capacity. It's exceeding those limits and shattering the system. Vladimir Putin claimed that Europe would freeze without Russian gas, that Western civilization would kneel in the winter cold. This propaganda was repeated for years on Russian television, but today it's not Europe that's freezing. While the cafes of Berlin and Paris are warm, Russia's own industrial cities, logistics routes, and citizens are freezing. Putin's most trusted ally, the legendary protector of Russian history, General Winter, has switched sides. While the war budget breaks records, radiators are freezing, while hypersonic missiles are being produced. There are no tow trucks to rescue 100-kilometer truck queues. The grand imperial dreams planned behind the Kremlin walls are now quietly dying on Siberia's highways in the frozen cabin of a Chinese-made truck. The system is collapsing not under external attack, but under its own weight and neglect. Tonight we have analyzed Russia's catastrophic winter logistics collapse, a crisis that has trapped 10,000 vehicles in a 100-kilometer frozen death queue and left tens of thousands of Russians without heat in minus 40-degree temperatures. Putin's war economy has neglected basic infrastructure. Soviet-era power plants are exploding. Chinese-made trucks are failing in the cold, and military supply lines to the Ukrainian front are severed. General Winter, Russia's legendary ally, has turned against the Kremlin, and the logistics system is collapsing under its own weight. This is the kind of strategic intelligence analysis you get every day at Strategic Signal Report. We expose how internal failures shape global conflicts. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for daily briefings on Russia, Ukraine, and global power dynamics. We post at AM and PM's. Comment below. Could this logistics crisis mark the beginning of the end for Putin's war effort? Your analysis matters. For Strategic Signal Report, I'm Sarah Mitchell. We'll continue tracking how Russia's internal collapse affects the war in Ukraine. Stay informed, stay analytical, and we'll see you in the next briefing.